We ripped on the Cowboys enough yesterday, though. I need to move on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, it's at this point, it's like, dunking on a 4-foot hoop, what are you going to do? I do want to talk about the Patriots, a team with the same amount of wins this year as the Cowboys. Okay, last one. The hoop's going back up to 10 feet. I'm not going to do it anymore. Patriots at 3-7, get the win over Chicago. And we talked a lot about Drake Maye yesterday, mainly the Drake Maye Caleb Williams matchup, and the fact that the Bears are just repeating the cycle with their quarterback. I feel bad for him. He's been coddled his whole career more than most quarterbacks, but I feel for these guys who go to these organizations that just cannot figure it out. Felt this way about Sam Darnold, the golden boy out of USC. But then he goes to the Jets, and what is he going to do? Like, genuinely, is he just going to break the 40, 50 years of what the Jets have built? It's the same thing with the Bears. The Bears, I mean, everyone knows, miraculously, the Bears do not have an all-time quarterback in their illustrious history. Their 100 years of playing football, they don't have an all-time great quarterback. The best quarterback they've ever had statistically is Jay Cutler. And the most memorable in terms of bringing them a Super Bowl is Jim McMahon. Fine quarterback. Jay Cutler, fine quarterback. But we're talking about 100 years of football, and they have not gotten even a Hall of Famer. I mean, you got to go way back pre-Super Bowl to get them even close to that. Anyway, so Caleb Williams falls into that. We talked about that. We talked about the Drake Maye, Josh Allen comp, which I like. But one thing we didn't mention was what was talked about with Drake in the game on Sunday, and that came from a Laura Oakman sideline report. You know Laura Oakman, Scotty? I don't either. Apparently, she's very long tenured at Fox. I didn't know. Pete would be flipping out right now because Pete's read Laura Oakman's autobiography, I'm sure. Anyone who has appeared on TV for sports, Pete has read their book. Loves reading their book. Anyway, Laura Oakman had a report during the game on Sunday, which I listened to live, and somehow there's no audio recordings whatsoever of this report, or else it would be in the queue in StreamYard. But apparently, audio of this does not exist. But I did hear it, so I can confirm that it was reported, and we do have the transcript of it. So this is from a CBS News story, but it's all coming from the Patriots Bears broadcast. During Sunday's broadcast, Laura Oakman of Fox Sports shared that Maye asked offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt if he could address the team following Wednesday's practice. Maye did not like the focus of the group during the session and wanted to discuss it with his teammates. She said 3 weeks ago, she said, this week was a big step up for Drake. He was frustrated with how practice went. He didn't think they were as locked in as they needed to be. So he asked Alex Van Pelt if he could address the offense for the first time. The first time. Alex said, the floor is yours. He said it was the first time he got in front of the offense, as we just stated. Alex said, great response. Everyone reacted really well to it. And some of the players said that after the game as well, that they liked what the message was. One Patriots player called it 10 out of 10 for the message that Drake Maye gave. Could this be some, Patriot way, we want to get behind this guy kind of bullshit? Potentially. But what struck me is I thought back and I said, I don't think we ever had a report like this from Mac Jones, who was a guy who was really hyped up in terms of the intangible stuff coming out of the draft, right? He's a leader. This guy will fit in with the Patriots. Saban loved him, so Belichick will love him. And he's a pro's pro. He only cares about winning. He's not going to make any waves in the media or anything like that. And he came in and he took over the huddle. He took command of that offense, command of this team. And yet we never got a story like this. We never had a story of Mac Jones getting in front of the team, essentially, from what we can gather from this, dressing down his players and saying, hey, guys, this wasn't good enough today. We've got to get better at this. You've got to get better at this. And you've got to get better at this. And I need to get better at this. There's no story about that from Mac Jones's time in his 3 years, essentially 3 years, as the starter with the Patriots. And yet Drake Maye, we're getting it 4 or 5 weeks into his career starting. That's a positive sign, because not only do you get that, but you also are seeing the on-field results that Mac Jones never had in terms of the throws he can make, right? Because Mac went to the playoffs his rookie year, lest we forget. But it's pretty obvious that Drake Maye has an arsenal that Mac Jones never had. And he does not have even the weapons that Mac Jones had, and yet he can do more than Mac Jones ever could. And that is what's so promising to me, because here's a guy, to use a Chris Collinsworth quote, here's a guy. No, but seriously, here's a guy in Drake Maye, comes out of the draft. He's pretty young, right? 21, pretty goofy, didn't start a ton of games in college. I don't want to say questions about his maturity, but there's kind of that Gronk aspect of this guy, cares a lot about football, pretty smart in the game of football, but he's really goofy. How are guys going to rally around him? Are they going to do it right away, especially when things aren't going well? And the answer seems to be yes. And here he is in the middle of this week going up and addressing the offense. And you might say, well, it's the NFL. This stuff happens all the time. But this is a guy who's in year one, a 21-year-old who's talking to a lot of embattled veterans, 28, 29, 30-year-olds, grown men. Okay? As good as Drake Maye has been at quarterback throughout his life, this is a different animal. Even if you're starting as a freshman in high school, 14-year-old, 15-year-old talking to 17, 18-year-olds, there's some maturity difference there for sure. Or in college, a 19-year-old versus a 22-year-old. But we are talking about a guy who was at frat parties a couple months ago, talking to a bunch of guys who have played, some of them 7, 8, 9, 10 years in the National Football League. He's sitting there talking to guys who are 28, 29, 30. Some of them played a decade in this league. That's a massive difference. I don't know if Drake Maye went to frat parties, but he could have. Okay. He seems like a fun guy. I'm not going to criticize the kid for that. But it's all to say that takes a lot of balls to do, 4, 5 weeks into your starting career. And talk about a response, because it wasn't the best offensive performance they've ever had, but they went out and they beat a team in their own barn by 2 touchdowns. And it didn't feel that close. 19-3. Held them to 1-14 on third down. And holds Caleb Williams to 16 of 30 for 120 yards and sacks him 9 times. And so what does Drake Maye do when he goes to the podium? He goes, everyone phones down. Let's clap it up for the defense. That's kind of a nice thing to do. Now, you should tell Drake that it's probably not very professional for the organized media in the room to drop what they're doing and clap up the team that they're objectively covering. But the thought was there. And is he a little bit goofy? Sure. But he doesn't embarrass himself or the team in the media. And he clearly really only gives a shit about football. And that's what I'm here for. The man has got football in his head and maybe nothing else. And that's all I care about. I'm okay with that guy being the franchise quarterback. I don't need him to be terribly thoughtful. I don't need him to be quite as boring as Mac Jones was. And I wasn't complaining about that either, but I don't need that. I can take a guy who's a little bit goofy, but who cares about ball and gives me that clip from Hard Knocks where he's dissecting the play before it's even happening and how impressed Brian Daboll was. But they asked Drake Maye, because I forgot we had this clip. That's why I'm only introducing it now, Scotty, to just let you in on that. They asked Drake what he said to the team in midweek, and here's what Drake allegedly said.
Little things. I think just taking, that next step is me being the quarterback and, in the offensive meeting room of, these little things that are adding up and hurting us in practice that are leading to game day. I think I fumbled a snap. I think we didn't pick up, protection that we've been, trying to pick up. I think, may had some little, mental errors that I think, I really started with myself. And I think sometimes you get in the practice mode where you're just running plays and not really tuned in and trying to execute, specific plays. You're trying to just get in a groove of, hey, we're just running plays out here just for nothing. And just really try to, challenge those guys and challenge myself to take each play and, know that, when the game comes and this play is called, it matters. Probably fumbled some words trying to do it, but I think those guys respected it.
Probably fumbled some words trying to do it, but I think those guys respect it. That's big time. That's big time. And Mac Jones might well have had some addressing the team moments like that, because it doesn't sound like it was anything crazy, right? It was a lot of sports minutia in there, right? One play at a time. We got to stay focused, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of that. So I don't doubt that Mac Jones could have done that at some point, but what we did see from Drake Maye in this game is something we didn't really see with Mac Jones, even with the success that he had in his rookie year, is that clearly the team rallied around it. We saw it on the field. Like, we saw a team play out of its mind after a pretty bad loss last week, especially a defense playing out of its mind and getting those 9 sacks. Like, what you saw was a team actually rallying around the quarterback. And we've seen it in spurts this year, the way they came back against Tennessee. The way, honestly, they rallied around Jacoby Brissett a little bit in that Jets win. But they have clearly shown on the field that they are respecting this guy and that they're willing to go to war with this guy. And that wasn't the case for everyone going into the draft. Everyone talked about Caleb Williams and how great he was going to be, and the athleticism of Jaden Daniels, which we, of course, have seen on full display. And then there was Drake Maye at pick number 3. And there was a guy I really respect as an NFL analyst who just forewarned about some potential dangers about drafting Drake Maye.
Drake Maye will get you fired. Drake Maye's the kind of player that gets you fired. And especially you draft him in the top 5, top 3, he's going to get you fired.
I like Merrill Hodge a lot, and he's been right about some big-time quarterback prospects over the years. It's worth noting that many people were, obviously Caleb Williams was the number 1 pick. But Merrill Hodge actually said, I don't know about Caleb Williams. There's something not right here. And he's usually right about those things, and he certainly looks right about Caleb Williams. He's gotten plenty of things wrong in the past, and the Drake Maye one so far, not so good. Drake Maye will get you fired. Gerard Mayo, if he gets fired, it will be because of Gerard Mayo. It will not be because of Drake Maye. Trust me. Trust me. It's just so much different from what we were hearing about this kid even 2 months ago. Not that he was detrimental to the team or anything, but he was such a project and might never actually become that guy, because for every one of those Josh Allens, there are 3 or 4 Zach Wilsons. And I think a lot of people were afraid that the Patriots might be set back a decade if he is Zach Wilson and not Josh Allen. And he's not either one of those yet, okay? Don't get me wrong. But certainly he is trending more towards the Josh Allen than the Zach Wilson. Like, Zach Wilson was 5 weeks in his career, there are already major questions. And they're already like, what's up with this kid? And with Drake Maye, he's getting better by the week. His decision-making is getting better by the week. His ball talent's incredible. Arm talent's incredible. And I think even Patriots fans are surprised by his escapability and his ability to get out of the pocket. You knew he could do that in college, but it's the ACC. It's not the NFL. And he has been doing that as plays have broken down. And he is making great plays, improvising great plays, I should say. There was one with under 5 minutes left. Patriots are up 16-3. They're putting the game away. Okay? They're shortening the game here. It's a 3rd and 1. The Bears absolutely have to have this. And they collapse the pocket. Drake Maye's basically on one of his offensive linemen, jumps and flips it out. Austin Hooper, wide open, 4 yards, first down. Doesn't go for the kill, isn't trying to force it to the goal line to show off his big arm and try to get the big home run play. He waits till literally the last second for something to be open, and he gets the first down that essentially kills off the rest of the game. They kick a field goal, and at that point, the game is over. It's those kinds of things that I did not expect from Drake Maye this early in his career, because he does have the big arm. He does have the arm talent. He did hit a lot of home runs in college. That's what he was known for. That's how he got on the top of all these draft boards. And he's willing to say, I'll take what the defense gives me. He has the great processing and reading of the defense that Mac Jones did have, and the willingness to take what the defense gives him that Mac Jones had, but with much better arm talent and much better, obviously, escapability. So to me, that puts him more towards that Josh Allen comp than a Mac Jones, than a Zach Wilson, than a Jarrett Stidham. Name your guy. He's trending more towards those great quarterbacks, but it's very, very early. Very early. But again, that's what kind of struck me, was this meeting with the team, addressing the team, addressing guys who have played years and years in this league, and he's only started a couple of games, to say, hey, you know what, guys, this wasn't good enough. I wasn't, but really, you did this wrong, and we've all got to focus up, and we can be better than this. We can be better than what we showed against Tennessee. And he showed that against Chicago. So that, to me, was a big takeaway from this weekend, because Mac Jones never had that. And Drake Maye is already doing it.
We are Rogue Media Sports.